Welcome to I Feel Fat Today. I'm your host, Kelly Taylor. It's Friday. We're back with another episode. I look like hell, but I'm just trying to survive. So please keep your comments to yourself or don't. You can type them in the comments below. It is another week. We are back here with another episode. Please, as always, subscribe to us on YouTube over there at I Feel Fat Today. We have full video episodes, just like the very one you are watching right now. And then after if you don't want to do that, you can head over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. Reviews do help. It helps get the word out of the podcast out to listeners, and I would really, really appreciate it, or potential listeners, I should say. Follow us on Instagram at I Feel Fat Today, and you can follow me, your host. Hello, this is Kelly, and you can send us an email if you want some advice. I feel fat today at gmail.com. We haven't gotten an email in a while, and so that would be fun to answer one of those online. I wish I got a water. I forgot to get a water before I started. It's another solo episode. It's another solo episode because I am so tired. And I don't know if it was the eclipse. I don't know if it was the full moon. I don't know if it was Mercury retrograde that we just experienced, all of which is now over. That's a reason to celebrate. But I couldn't get myself to do what I needed to do to have guests come on, which is why I'm glad that I've, sort of set a standard that, intermittently we might have a few solo episodes in a row, which is totally fine, even though I really like the guest format. I can't describe it as anything other than I just couldn't get myself to do it. And it wasn't like I was sitting around doing nothing. I was just so busy with everything else happening in my life that I think with my, day job, especially just being so busy, like the thought of doing all the prep and everything that I need to do when I have a guest on, never mind booking an actual guest, I just couldn't do it. So I'm hoping by next week we have a guest on the podcast. I don't know. We'll have to see what the energy of the universe is next week, which I know is probably the most annoying sentence I've ever said. And I've said many that are annoying, but that's where we are. So just a little update there. Finney update. Finney, I think, is doing better. He seems to be feeling better. He's not quite himself yet, but we're on the mend. So that's good. Cool. Yeah, let's jump into it. I got some fun stuff for us this fine Friday. I cannot thank you enough for joining and lending me your ears while you're either, commuting to work or walking your dog or just going on your morning walk, or sitting at your desk hating your life. You got me, which I appreciate, and I got you. Okay, so I want to start a new segment that just highlights something that I've been like super into. It could be a person, place, thing, or product. I mean, maybe not a product because I don't really want to sell anything that isn't, paying me to sell to you. But just something, I just want to highlight something. It doesn't have to be every week, but I took a lot of comfort into this one thing this week. And so I thought it would be fun to, kind of spotlight it. And so we're going to be calling this new segment of the podcast the low calorie sweet treat of the week. And this is where I spotlight a person, place, product, or event that I'm really loving lately. And it is not food related. I mean, maybe it will be food related every now and again, but it certainly doesn't have to be, low calorie or sweet. But just given the name of the podcast, I thought that was a very fun name to give it. Because that's all the rage is something that's, low calorie, but, satiate your sweet tooth. So this is the low calorie sweet treat of the week. And for my very first one, the introductory low calorie sweet treat of the week is going to go to none other than TikTok sensation, your favorite stay-at-home mom, Leah Victoria. This woman is healing my childhood trauma one TikTok video at a time. So this woman, Leah Victoria, she's an Italian mom from Queens, and she's raising her family in New Jersey. And like I said, you're literally Leah Victoria is literally healing my TikTok childhood trauma one day in the life vlog and Costco haul at a time. Anytime I feel anxious, sad, or depressed, overwhelmed, or overwhelmed, I go to Leah's page and I finally know peace. There's just something really healing when I see her and her husband be super gentle with their daughters. They let their daughter Serafina be herself, and you never see them tell her to calm down or be quiet, which is something I feel like that was constantly reinforced to me growing up. And that sort of reinforcement sort of caused me to like shell up. And um, I'll never forget, I had this one ex-boyfriend tell me that I walk around like I have a cloud of doubt around me. And I've never been read for filth like that in my life. And you can also just tell that because of their relationship with food, their kids aren't afraid of food. And you can tell Leah is like really fostering a beautiful relationship with food for her daughter. Um, and I think that was another thing where um I knew very early on like what the good and bad foods were, and nothing about moderation. And I don't know, there's just something about this woman's page where I just like, not only is she funny, but she's real. She's very, very real. And I just appreciate that. I also love the way that Leah handles her mean commenters. People will write like really disparaging things about this mom's TikTok page, like about her on her page and her comments. And she's just like, she basically is just like, I don't give a fuck about you and you're a sad loser. But she's able to say that without like actually saying that. You know, she's just will take a mean comment and make a video about it and just be like, you know, I hope you're okay if this is what you're doing with your day, and you know, eat something nice and yummy today. I hope that maybe that fixes your attitude. Like she goes at her haters in a way that I'm just like, oh, you're not basic, and I like you're just so cool. She's a queen. She's a dream guest on my podcast. Dream guest on my podcast. Let's shake things up a little bit. Maybe my ex. No, I'm kidding. Sorry, that was a really bad JoJo Siwa impression. But she is a dream guest on my podcast. I would love to have her on. So that's on manifesting, right? Oh, Taylor Swift's Tortured Poets Department album came out on Friday. I was in a low grade argument with my boyfriend, and I also was cat sitting that weekend that it came out at someone else's place. And so that was really nice. I just kind of got to bask in my sadness while I listened to this new album. And I wish I had the ability to sit and kind of go like track by track and break down and give my feelings about it and like analyze the lyrics the way that I've seen other people do and have enjoyed consuming, but I don't, because there are so many things that go so far past my head. But listening to these breakdowns really, really do make it super enjoying. You know, something that's super enjoying. Whatever. I can't go back and figure out if I'm saying the right thing. But yeah, new Taylor album came out. I really love it. It's just in my head constantly. Like even now, as I'm sitting here talking to you, it's in my head, and I can't help it. But yeah, that's what we got going on. Okay. So I have two different articles I want to read. They're relatively short, but let's get into it. So the first one is about my favorite topic, Ozempic. Am I like obsessed with Ozempic? I talk about it, I think, every week on the podcast. But this is an article I found on the business of fashion. And it's all about how TikTok is actually cracking down on what they call Ozempic influencers and what they're doing to sort of like limit that content to certain viewers on TikTok, which look, I know the bill, the TikTok ban was signed. Doesn't mean TikTok's going away tomorrow, from what I know, and I know nothing. This means that China needs to sell the platform TikTok to an American company in order to like keep TikTok alive or whatever. Um, whatever. I mean, the app is ruined. I want to be spied on by the Chinese government, not the American. I don't think our spies are going to give us as fun content as we get on TikTok. But so I know that that's happening, but still, I saw this and it came up very recently. I think just earlier this week, this article was published. So let's get into it. Starting us off, did I lose my mic? No, I don't think so. Sorry, I thought I lost my mic. We good? Yes. Yes, we're good. Oh no, I dropped this. All right. So this article from Business to Fashion. TikTok's crackdown on Ozempic influencers threatens weight loss drug hype machine. TikTok is trying to rein in the Ozempic hype. The social media platform will effectively ban most weight loss related content from appearing on its app starting next month, and according to a sweeping new set of community guidelines published on its website last week. The app has become ground zero for weight loss drug content as patients looking for more information about popular medications such as Novo Nordisk AS Wegovy, A/S's Wegovy, and Eli Lilly and Co.'s Zepbound turned to social media for answers. According to the new rules, the app will no longer allow the marketing of weight loss products and will specifically restrict minors from viewing or sharing content that shows, describes, and promotes potentially harmful weight management behaviors, including using weight loss medications. The rules extend to sharing so-called before and after photos used to show the physical effects of a weight loss transformation. Creators, some of who have racked up tens of thousands of followers posting content about drugs used to treat diabetes and obesity, say the broad set of restrictions will penalize a growing community keen to swap tips and find support for traditionally marginalized diseases. Social media platforms, including TikTok, have faced backlash for weight loss content proliferate seeming unabated, just one of many concerns over how algorithms push potentially harmful content to young users and little to stop health misinformation from spreading. It's not the first time TikTok, which is owned by Chinese parent company ByteDance Limited, has attempted to crack down on weight loss drug content. Users say reinforcement has been inconsistent and that the new guidelines lack clarity about what is and isn't allowed. This is 100% discrimination against people with obesity, people with type 2 diabetes, people with chronic conditions, people with health conditions, says Dave Knapp said Friday in a video posted to TikTok. Knapp regularly posts about news related to GLP-1 drugs and recently started a grassroots campaign urging Lilly to address shortages of its medications, including Mounjaro, which he takes to manage his type 2 diabetes. If someone with multiple sclerosis goes on and starts talking about their medicine, are you going to shut them down too? Knapp says in an interview. A TikTok spokesperson said that while the platform encourages open discussions on weight loss drugs, obesity, and related topics, the new guidelines are aimed at prohibiting content about disordered or dangerous eating and weight loss strategies. Knapp and other creators say that the support efforts to make TikTok safer by restricting content that may be harmful, such as the marketing of unapproved drug products. They pointed to videos hawking knockoff versions of Lilly's experimental drug retatrutide that remain on the app. The drug is still in clinical trials and has not been submitted to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration for review. Kim Carlos, who has been posting about obesity care and weight loss drugs since 2022, says she never had the issue with TikTok before now. In the last week, any video that includes hashtags like hashtag Ozempic, hashtag Zepbound, or even hashtag GLP-1 are immediately flagged for review. Some have been taken down for violating community guidelines, she said, but TikTok has not given her specifics on how the videos have broken the rules. The purpose is to help people, Carlos said. She said she's been careful to make sure her videos are about the health benefits of treating a chronic illness and not just the number of pounds lost. Carlos also started a podcast where she interviews doctors and even celebrity guests like Rosie O'Donnell. She worries about what the latest crackdown means for her ability to generate revenue for her podcast through live streams and commission earned on TikTok's e-commerce feature. Carlos is now planning to try other sites like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Clapper. The fuck is Clapper? A video-centric social media app that has been drawing new users as uncertainty around TikTok's future looms. This is how it's going to be. Where do we go? She said. Alexis Klingenpel quit her job as a manager at a hotel last week to pursue TikTok full-time. The 25-year-old who had long struggled with obesity grew a following on the app by posting about her own weight loss journey. She later partnered with a telehealth company that prescribes the medications, which pays her to promote its services on the app. Klingenpel said TikTok starting flagging and taking down her content this week, and now she lives in fear of getting permanently banned. TikTok is my livelihood and how I pay rent, she said. I could lose everything. Over the weekend, TikTok's future in the U.S. grew even more uncertain. The House of Representatives voted Saturday to approve a foreign aid bill that included legislation that would force ByteDance to divest ownership of TikTok or face a U.S. ban. The Senate is expected to vote on the matter this week, and President Joe Biden has said he plans to sign into law. Joe Biden did sign this into law. If the TikTok ban becomes law, ByteDance would have nearly a year to sell the app through the company, though the company is expected to pursue all available legal challenges to do it. And of course, they have through the year because it is an election year. So I wouldn't, politicians that are trying to get this thing banned, squeeze the life out of it to push their agendas. I added that last part. But yeah, so I thought that was interesting. I wanted to talk about it on the pod because it's interesting now that, I think we talked about a few episodes ago about, sort of things like pro anorexia Tumblr, and how, yes, there would be safeguards put in place. There have been safeguards put in place on TikTok for searching, pro eating disordered sort of content. But, people get around it by searching the word anorexia, but replacing certain letters with ones or zeros, to sort of get around that. And it's interesting that the platform of TikTok saw it a important feature to change community guidelines and sort of say, no, you cannot be hawking weight loss drugs and weight loss content on our app anymore. And I see both sides. I see both sides for the good and the bad of doing that. And I think for, what's good about TikTok taking an initiative to ban weight loss content, let's say, is now, young women of any age, well, young people, I shouldn't say just women, but young people who are sort of, maybe they have a weird body image, a negative body image, a distorted body image, they want to go and find a way to be as skinny as possible, making it harder for them to get those resources. And it even said that it's not allowing certain content to be viewed by anyone under the age of 18. But there's just so much that goes into that. Like, for example, there's so much that goes into that. So like, if I'm trying to get into a site where I'm not old enough to be there, I'm just gonna lie. About how old I am. So it's like, yeah, you can ban stuff to go to that so that children under the age of 18 can't see it. But if they lie about their age, they're going to get in, and there's no check and balance as to if that person is lying, because they're the ones that are volunteering the information about themselves. And if they're dumb enough to not know to do that, then they're dumb enough to not be able to access this information that you're trying to shield them from. So that's the one side of it. The other side of it is that, people have their livelihoods in, making this kind of content. And I do think that there is an argument for people that make content about weight loss specifically. It is helpful when you're a person that is on a weight loss journey, whatever that means, or maybe if you're not on a weight loss journey, to like go to a page that maybe has like, lower calorie recipes, for example. These pages that are all about weight loss surgery or weight loss medications, it's all about people just talking about their journey. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that there are content creators that are giving you tips on how to access this sort of stuff, which if you're a person in your 30s, maybe that's like useful to you and not really harmful to you. It's just like letting you know about a different resource, or what the resources are out there. But if you're 18 years old and you're hearing this, should you be hearing that? Like, should someone whose brains that's not fully formed yet be knowing where to access GLP-1 drugs or access bariatric surgery? I don't know. I'm inclined to say no, but I've also hated my body when my brain wasn't fully formed, and would have done and have done literally anything to be skinny. So I don't really know. What do you guys think, listeners? Like, is it good that TikTok is doing this? Are the people that are making money on these social media platforms, are they like making blood money because they're hawking something they shouldn't be? Or is it not that big of a deal? I don't know. And I don't know if it's because my brain like doesn't have the ability to like think of that at the moment, because it's just filled with such, everything else. It's filled with all this other stuff. But we'll see. Here's the thing though. It's just making it harder to get the message out there. So like on TikTok, you can't say someone killed themselves. You can't say someone committed suicide. You say someone unalived themselves. You can't say this person was killed. You say this person was unalived. And it's crazy because I was having a conversation IRL, and I was talking about someone that had died recently, and I was like, oh, well, that person was unalived. Not in the context of filming anything. I said, when talking about a dead person, I said that they were unalived. I was not looking into the camera. I thought the camera was up there. The camera's right there. So sorry about that. But yeah, I actually said that the person was unalived in a real conversation with somebody. So it's weird how that happens. Like the new vocabulary that is created when we're trying to get around sort of blockers, and how it bleeds into our psyche and into our language until eventually it's in the Webster Dictionary. Crazy. So yeah, all that is to say is like that's what's going to happen with these weight loss content creators. They're just gonna, instead of Ozempic, maybe they'll call it skinny juice or the stabby drug, or let's brainstorm some little phrases they can use to hawk their drugs. The cure, the cure, heroin. Just call it heroin. That's what it is. No, I don't know. So yeah, so that's that. TikTok is cracking down on people being able to share the medications that they're on that makes them shit themselves. Okay. Well, one more article for the episode. I don't even know how long we've been going. So this is from The Cut. I came across this the other night, and I thought it was kind of interesting. It's not too long. And I actually started the episode by talking about the eclipse and the moon and the this and then that. So kind of apt that we talk about this article here. But this is from The Cut. It's by this woman, Emma Alpern, and it's titled, "Are Women's Bodies Actually Controlled by the Moon?" All right, here we go. There's a story you might come across if you spend enough time talking to women about the moon. It goes like this. Many years ago, in some far off time before written records and industrialization, and definitely before hormonal birth control, the full moon was powerful. It was bright and suggestive. With its plump, glowing presence, it tugged at the luteinizing hormone in women. In the pure menstrual past, all fertile women were so influenced by what was happening in the sky that they ovulated together each month. The idea that women's bodies contain an ancient link to the moon is often presented as either feminist counterhistory or wellness adjacent conspiracy theory. But almost many people, but among many people today, it isn't exactly either of those things. For some women, a moon body connection is as much a biological given as allergies or aging. I heard of the connection directly from my mom when I got my first period, says Zoe Klassen. I am so sorry. I don't know where I just went. I'm back. A videographer and editor. I asked how I was supposed to know when I would get my next period, and she said she said that she seems to always get hers with the new full moon. And after a few years, I noticed that I did too. Multiple people I spoke to told me they track their period by the full or new moon, and several said their period came early on the days of the recent solar eclipse, one at the exact moment of totality. God, that would suck. You're just out enjoying the nice day. You're like, whoa, totality. This is crazy. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, God damn. Does anyone have a tampon? That would suck. Actually, no, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to be a woman that gets a period, which I wouldn't know. I've had this stupid IUD for so many years. I haven't gotten my period in literal years. I had to get this fucking foreign object out of my body. Anyways, okay. But even for those women who don't believe so unequivocally that their uterus is behaving in accordance with the Earth's satellite, establishing a connection has made for a better living. About 10 years ago, Krista, a publicist, moved from LA to rural Pennsylvania. She had been feeling out of sorts and sleeping poorly. She began spending more time outside and doing moon visualization meditations before bed, which she believes help regulate both her sleep and her reproductive cycle. I know it sounds kind of crazy, she says. Maybe I'm psychosomatically feeding into it, but I don't think so, because a lot of times I just notice how I'm feeling and then I realize, oh, it's a super full moon. There isn't an obvious mechanism behind all of this if one exists. Maybe some people told me the theoretical link has to do with the fact that Earth's tides are controlled by the gravitational pull of the moon. We are, after all, up to 60% water. That said, as Neil deGrasse Tyson once pointed out, because we are much, much smaller than any of our planet's oceans, the weight of an unstuffed down pillow imparts a squeezing force that is over 7 trillion times larger than the moon's tidal force on your head. Anecdotal lore hints. Wait, what does that mean? The weight of an understuffed down pillow imparts a squeezing force that is over 7 trillion times larger than the moon's tidal force on your head. Does someone smart know what that means? I think what Neil deGrasse Tyson is saying is we're 60% water, but we're much smaller than any of our planet's oceans. Oh, I see. Okay, I get what that's saying. I get it now. So we're 60% water, but we're much, much smaller than any of the planet's of our planet's oceans. So it's like the weight of an understuffed pillow imparts a squeezing force that is over 7 trillion times larger than the moon's tidal force on your head. So actually, I don't know what I was trying to say there. We're going to keep reading. Anecdotal lore hints that moonlight could affect the frequency of violent crimes, manic episodes, and labor. I actually was born on a full moon, October 10th, 1992, Aries full moon. Born under the sun, Libra. Born under the Libra sun. When I asked my mother's wife, a long-time postpartum nurse, about the last point, she said, "We definitely have more births at the hospital during full moons. Most suggestively, the complete lunar cycle takes 29.5 days, while an average menstrual cycle is about 28 days. And it's slightly longer for younger, more consistently fertile people. Besides, the image of the moon can seem inextricable from the way we picture and talk about women. Take the Mayan goddess Aichel, the Chinese deity Chang's ascent to the moon, and the lunar goddess of the second wave feminism. Even the word menstruations, I think it's etymology is moonish. These days on TikTok and podcasts and in other online alcoves, the uterus moon link can seem like an anecdote into modernity. Modernity. I promise I can read. This is so embarrassing. These days on TikTok and podcasts and in other online alcoves, the uterus moon link can seem like an anecdote to modernity. Lunar phases, women on the internet are saying lately, offer a way to structure our time that's in opposition to the 24-hour solar clock, which undergirds our capitalist masculine society and asks us to be the same person every day. Funnily enough, this notion is one bit of common territory among young socialists, overworked office dwellers, and a fair number of tradwives. Like the moon, our body in different phases has different needs, different nutrition, different rest time, different activities, says Petra Duskova, a dancer and choreographer. The moon's waxing and waning is a useful metaphor for what the ovulating body goes through. Its movement across the sky may also, she thinks, literally, physically affect us when we are open to the idea. Even for those allergic to the tiniest hint of woo, there's something picturesque about the possibility of our secret relationship to the moon. After all, it seems like something is wrong with the way we live. Every minute we're not looking at our phones. We want to be looking at our phones. We've been part of the experiment that is artificial light for over 200 years long enough for us to forget what humans were without it. Healthcare, as advanced as it is inaccessible and expensive. And people who say and some people say it's making us sicker, especially women. Sure, there are upsides. We're not walking around in minor infections all the time, for one thing, and we have more control over when we get pregnant. But in the wash of blue light, we can be oblivious to some essential. But in the wash of blue light, could we be oblivious to some essential parts of our biology? On that part, really quickly about every minute we're not looking at our phones, we want to be looking at our phones. It's really insane how present I have to force myself to become when I am doing minuscule things, like when I'm walking and I am stuck waiting at a crosswalk and I'm just standing there. The urge to take out my phone and just see what's happening on my phone, not even on the internet, just on my phone, is so pervasive in me. And I have to actually say to myself, and this is what I've been saying to myself recently, pretend it's the 90s and you don't have a phone to scroll. Like, I literally say to myself, pretend it's the 90s. And I know we didn't have smartphones in the early 2000s, but that's just just pretend it's the 90s, when you weren't able to suck any feeling of boredom or unhappiness into fucking phone. Yeah. So yeah, we're we can say we're connected to the moon, but we've been surrounded by this artificial light for years now. Okay. But in the wash of the blue light, could we be oblivious to some essential parts of our biology? Besides, it might not be that hard to start living according to lunar cycles. I'm part of a group that meets on the new moon and full moon, one friend told me. and mood gazing naturally is always an option. Unlike the sun, which can blind you, and the stars, whose size can strain your eyes, it's something you can look at indefinitely, says Alina Serdova, an entrepreneur and artist. There's a way in which the moon is in companion to Earth. There, sorry, I'm not cutting any of my mistakes out this episode. This is going up as it is. There's a way in which the moon is in companion to Earth, right? And it's a companion to every human being where you can just find it and it's there. There are planners meant to bring awareness to moon cycles and rituals with names like lunar adorations. Another friend recently told me about this app she uses called Stardust. I actually have Stardust, which allows you to know how your menstrual cycle interacts with the phases of the moon. And had just informed her that because she is typically menstruating during the waning phase, she is a purple witch. Moon stuff, moon stuff, like so much of everything on the internet, comes to us a jarring conflation of subjects and tonal registers. Medical guide, feminist theory, astrology, tradwife propaganda, PDF guides available to download for $12.99 a piece. Believe it or not, scientists have looked into it, though as many areas relating to female reproductive health, findings on possible moon body connection are scant and not yet conclusive. Could it be probably because there's not a lot of money to be made in that? Just a thought, I don't know. A year-long study of 74 people from the Journal of Endocrine Regulations in 2013 found no synchronicity between periods and a particular moon phase. But a study from early April published in Science Adventures claims to show that the menstrual cycle it tracked were weekly, but significantly influenced by the lunar cycle. Charlotte Hurlfurch Foster, a very German biologist who co-authored a paper that used data from 22 people who tracked their periods over as many as 32 years, thinks she found some correlation between menstruation and the full and new moons, but there are limitations. Although she believes the length of time the study covers is uniquely revealing, it is, she says, admittedly small. The women involved that found that their cycles sometimes aligned with the moon's, but the synchronization would break off, partly because of hormonal changes that are happening with aging, that happen with aging. As a woman, you know how irregular our cycles can be, she says. So I was astonished that I could see this kind of synchronization, even only for certain times. Biologists, after a couple decades of skepticism, are finally getting interested in the moon's effect on humans, says psychiatrist and science and research scientist Thomas Ware, co-author of Hurlick Foster's. Co-author of Hurlick Foster's. We have intertidal zone ancestors. I'm talking millions of years ago, who had genes that enabled them to track tidal cycles. That's cool. He points me to a new preprint from the University of Pittsburgh suggesting that he might still have some of those genes, implying a subconscious tidal awareness we don't yet understand. When I asked Hurlick Forrester whether she thinks there's anything to the idea that women should be aligned with lunar cycles, that there is some lapsed relationship that could make us happier and healthier, she shrugs. The moon, she thinks, is a weak Zeiderberg, German for time giver. Especially with artificial light and urbanization, we all, and all the new stresses in our lives. Amid this, the loss of synchronicity with the moon, if we ever were synchronized, is a small factor, and it probably couldn't hurt to go outside and take a look. So that was from the cut. Are women's bodies actually controlled by the moon? I don't know. I also haven't gotten a period in 5 years because I have a hormonal IUD that took that from me. Whenever I feel like I may be on my period, it's like a fake, weird birth control period. So it's fake. I actually had been thinking how I do want to just kind of like go off birth control entirely just to see how I feel. And I don't know, see what it's like to bleed. I never bleed. I don't know. What am I saying? Too much information. Letting you know I never bleed. What the fuck am I saying? Not cutting it out. Um, yeah. So, but I mean, isn't it curious that the a lunar cycle is 28-ish days and the menstrual cycle is 28-ish days? Like just little things like that. It's like, well, maybe we don't have to necessarily sync up to the moon, but we're all on this 28-day cycle, right? Um, and there was something, well, there was something in this article where it touched on, where you are in your cycle, your sort of you have different needs. Like the week after your period is kind of like, that's when you're on fucking fire, baby. Give me that project at work. I'm gonna start a business. The week after my period, when I had a period, the week after my period, that's like literally when I would like get myself into trouble with my social calendar because like I was willing to like see people. I felt great about my body. Like I feel like it's like the skinniest you feel as well. And then like within a week, you're back to ramping up to have your period again if you don't get pregnant. And so you just immediately start feeling like shit again. So basically, as a woman, you have like 1 week where like you can actually fit into like capitalism's structure for everybody. And then the other 3 weeks, you're like, it's like running on the beach. It's just so much harder. So I don't know. I think that if you think there's a moon body connection, then there is very much a moon body connection. And if you're in tune to that, then that works good for you. I thought that was cool. I hope it was like somewhat entertaining to listen to because I did like mess up a little bit, especially in that Neil deGrasse Tyson portion, which I should have just like skipped over entirely, but like didn't. But I think it was just trying to point out how like, of course, the moon has an effect on us. We're 60% water, but Neil deGrasse Tyson's like, yeah, we're 60% water, but like we're also like way smaller than like an ocean. Right? I don't know. Okay. Well, that's that, guys. Everybody. Another makeup free episode. I have to wash my hair. I have to take a shower. Um, Maybe next week we'll have a guest. I would like to. I think I'm kind of ready to have a guest again. I think the listener's ready to have a guest again. If there's a listener right now, I'm just talking to myself. Hey self, how you doing? Okay, I'm gonna go. Um, I hope you have a fabulous weekend. I hope you um are gentle with yourself. Look at the moon. Go look at the moon. The full moon on Tuesday was beautiful. I think it was a pink moon. It was big and bright. I put my water out on the windowsill to make my moon water. Let the moon energy zap into that. The next morning I drank it and I said, I'm gonna have a great day. And I had an okay day. It wasn't a great day. It was an okay day. That's capitalism. Okay, I'm gonna go. This has been I Feel Fat today. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.